Now everybody knows when you find yourself locked up and incarcerated, you can get yourself in a fight over anything. For this video here, I'm going to be telling you how two inmates got themselves in a fight inside a prison, and it was all over a Chobani yogurt.
Haha, Dom the best. Finna be this way till I EOS. Take it how you want, nigga. Yeah, I'm a pro. Fuck around and bust your lot while you're at Vizzo. I hate to be this way, but I live for the moment. Waking up every day, show me an opponent. Shanks on deck, hitting bitch with locks. So much pool, I can even start you from the box. You don't wanna pay rent, got me bent. Got lax on deck, your money was well spent. Vultures on the prowl, so don't try testing. Step two comes violent, first steps finessing. You a hold down man, suitcase this. My cell phone and my charger don't walk with a limp. Get it knocked off or missing, you gon' get it. Next time I see your ass, you gon' leave airlifted.
What's up, y'all? You already know, man. K-Frog TV back in the building. Y'all go ahead and do me that solid favor, man. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and also make sure you hit that notification bell so you can see it first. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. If it's your first time tuning in, my name is K-Frog, and everything I talk about over here has to do with something that was when someone was locked up, or, you know, in a juvenile program, a detention center, prison, whatever it is. I try to enlighten people, to let people know what it's like truly if you find yourself on the other side of them gates. And for this video here, I'm going to be talking about two inmates that got themselves in a fight, and I'm going to let you know why they got in the fight, and you let me know, you know, in the comment section who was right, you know, when it comes to the fight in the first place. All right, now, like I said in the intro, them boys actually got themselves in a fight over some Chobani yogurt. But to give y'all a little background story, first thing I want to let y'all know is when I was inside of prison, the prison I was at the time, you know, they got a lot of food donated from like the port. The port wasn't that far, you get what I'm saying? So they used to donate stuff, you know, and the things that they would donate are considered rare inside of prison, you get what I'm saying? Like Chobani yogurt, for instance, all right? First time I got Chobani yogurt was inside of prison, okay? They gave us these things. We used to get them inside the chow hall, and them shits were like frozen. They were like 5 months old, you know, and we would just be sitting there, you know, licking on it, trying to get as much flavor out of it as we can, you know, because you're supposed to eat them inside the chow hall. They don't want you bringing them back to the dorm, even though there's ways to do it, all right? Now, I remember calling my mom, rest in peace to her. I remember calling her, telling her that, man, they just gave us a fire-ass yogurt in here, blah, 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 this and that, and I told her it's called Chobani or something like that, and she told me that that's a real name of a yogurt that's on the streets. And I said, really? She's like, yeah. I said, I ain't never ate no Chobani on the streets. So now every time I see it, it makes me think of, you know, when I first had it was when I was incarcerated, all right? Now, Chobani yogurts weren't the only thing that they gave us that was donated. We also got blueberries a lot. We also got them little sticks that got like, they're like, got the same pattern as a candy cane. It's like a spiral, and you can like, it's like a straw, but it's like a cookie at the same time. And people like eat them with ice cream and stuff like that. They had cans of those. People were stealing them shits, bringing them back to the dorm. Little fun-sized Snickers and Milky Ways and stuff with the football players' teams actually on there. Matter of fact, I got mine still inside of my photo album. Yeah, those that don't know, me and my dad were Dolphins fans. Rest in peace to my dad as well. But right here in my prison photo album, you can actually see the Dolphins one. Once I finally got my hands on the Snickers that was the Dolphins logo, I grabbed it and I stuck it inside of my photo album. You see what I'm saying? Just to give y'all more of a breakdown of what I'm explaining. So they had Snickers, blueberries, the little things you eat with ice cream. They even had corn on the cobs. They even had bell peppers sometimes, you know, saltine crackers. And when we would get these certain things donated, they would flood the compound with them. Like, I'm not talking about like they would just give us a couple crackers, you know. When we got saltine crackers donated, it was like pallets of saltine crackers, to where when we'd go to lunch and dinner, when we grab our tray out of the flat, we would have a sleeve of saltine crackers, a whole pack of saltine crackers. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's ours. That's a lot of crackers. Then they actually had the boxes of the little, the mini saltine crackers. If you look, it looks like they're like Cheez-It size, but they're saltines. We actually had those donated to us. But the Chobani yogurt's got to be one of the best things that they donated, because it was like getting ice cream with a little bit of different flavor, you know. And you got everybody over there licking on that motherfucker, even though it's gonna give them a stomach ache. Everybody over there licking on that shit, you know. And these two dudes ended up making a trade inside of the chow hall, and this is where the first, you know, the first step of the fight actually occurred. They ended up making a trade inside of the chow hall for something. I'm not sure what they traded, but he traded him something off of his plate for his Chobani yogurt, you know. And at this time, you know, like I said, they don't let you bring this shit back to your dorm. Now, you can. There's certain ways to sneak shit. You know, people steal stuff from the chow hall and bring it back to the dorms, and they sell it. And you can get by guards here and there. But this shift was, like, strict. So they were, like, waiting and searching everybody on the way back to the chow hall. if you're somebody that's been locked up, then you know how it is when they don't want you to bring something back. Certain shifts are stricter than the others. You know, I've been to compounds to where on chicken day, they make you walk and they make you hold your pant legs up as you're walking. They want to see your ankles to make sure you ain't got no chickens wrapped up and stuffed in your sock. They pat you down. You know, every compound's different, you know, but these guards here were not having that. So this inmate tried to get back to the dorm with the Chobani yogurt that he just, you know, bought. And ended up getting caught. Now when he got caught, the guards took it. You see what I'm saying? And when they took it, he felt some type of way. So he felt like the dude knew he couldn't get back to the dorm with it. That's why he traded him for whatever off of his tray. Now, when we get back to the dorm, he decides to say something to the inmate, you know, about that. About, oh man, you tried me, you knew, da-da-da-da-da-da, this and that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. You're grown. You made your own, you know, bed. You got to lay in that shit. You made a trade. Who cares if he was able to eat his shit right then and there that he traded you for, and yours you wanted to smuggle back, you know, because you ain't got that much time in the chow hall. You know, and when these shits are frozen like a rock, you know, you could sit there and try to nibble on it or chew it or whatever. The plastic spoon they give you ain't going to be easy to, like, chisel it, you know, but there's only so much you'll be able to get down in the time span that they give you to eat. You feel me? Because most compounds you go to, when you walk in, they make you fill the tables in. So if you see like 3 rows with like 4 tables at each row, they'll go to that very last table and start filling in with seats. And then the next line goes, filling in with seats for the next row. Filling in with seats the next row, you know? So it's kind of like, and then when that next row's sitting, when they sit down, that next row, that first row, get up, dump your trays. Then the next row, get up, dump your trays. That's how it goes. They kind of like keep it going. You know, it's got a schedule. So it's like you only got, you know, a short time span to eat in the first place. So he took it amongst himself to go approach this inmate about that. And the other inmate didn't like that he came at him like that. He felt like at the end of the day, you know, you made a deal, you know, but he wasn't like, you know, mannerly. He didn't say it nicely like, oh, you know, you made a deal, blah, blah, blah. Instead, he was like, at the end of the day, F you and that yogurt. You know what I'm saying? I don't care nothing about none of that, bro. You know, you feel me? Like, it ain't my fault you got caught with your shit. Blah, 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 blah. You know, he just said F you and that yogurt. You feel me? So dude was like, man, what you talking about? He's like, man, you gonna give me my yogurt. He's like, man, I ain't giving you no fucking yogurt. Da, 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 da. Them boys went to arguing. Next thing you know, everybody's pushing the bunks out of the way so they can meet in the corner. You know, these dudes are arguing and shit, screaming. And I'm sitting there like, man, I want to get this shit on footage. I'm like, shit. I'm like, y'all boys go ahead and get it over with. You feel me? I'm like, I got the phone. I got the battery pack on there. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get this shit on camera so y'all boys can go ahead and get that shit off your chest. You feel me? While we got proof of it. Whole time they want to talk more than, you know, be about it. Next thing you know, the guards kind of get aware of the situation. The guards come in before the fight even goes down, right? So what do? Swoop, got the phone, handed off to the hold down man, took the battery pack off, slid the battery pack somewhere else, boom, boom, boom. Got everything, you know, like contraband-wise out of the way. So now it's too hot and too risky to bring the phone back out again. You feel me? Because the guards are already aware of probably what's going to happen. So now that the attention was already aroused by the guards and shit like that, now when the guards go back inside the dorm, like inside their officer station, now these 2 inmates decide they really want to grit and get it off their chest. He feels like he tried him about the yogurt. He feels like he tried him by trading with them. You get what I'm saying? So these boys both got 2 different reasons to, you know, argue. You see what I'm saying? He was like, F you and that yogurt. He was like, you owe me a yogurt. You know, F you and that yogurt, you owe me a yogurt. So next thing you know, them boys find herself, you know, in the other corner of the dorm, because that corner was now hot. The guards kept looking over there in that cut. So now they find themselves on the other side of the dorm, getting it off their chest. And it was funny because once they start, you know, fighting and everything like that, now that the guards are watching, everybody can't be, you know, obvious that you're staring over there watching. You got to kind of like play it off and kind of look over there for the most part, you know, to get the guards' attention to look somewhere else while them boys are gritting over there on that side, you see? Because they already done raised suspicion to the officers. So now them boys are over there fighting and shit all over the transaction of a yogurt. And I ain't gonna lie, they went about 4 rounds. You know what I'm saying? And them boys was giving it they all. One of them's shirt was ripped completely off. He had like scratch marks on his back because I guess the other dude had nails. So when they finally locked up, his nails like clawed them and shit. And then the other dude had a black eye, shiner, that's like, that shit started like instantly. His shit was like swollen. We already knew he was gonna have a black eye, you know, by the time they were done fighting. You feel me? But they went over there, they got it off their chest, you know, over the Chobani yogurt, right? So now, when I'm sitting there and looking at it like, damn, these dudes, you know, they got what they needed to get off their chest, you feel me? But at the same time, was it really worth it? You know, I'm thinking like, do they respect each other enough now? How's the outcome gonna go? Because a lot of times it doesn't just end with the fight. It's like there has to be a solution. The fight's just the beginning of the solution. So now it's kind of like, are you gonna get that yogurt from that individual? Is he gonna pay you the yogurt back? You know, but through it all, when there's a solution, it's kind of like y'all either fight and dead it, or one person's gonna be the bitch and the other one's gonna be the one that got away with whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because if the other dude doesn't let him pay them the yogurt, you know, like make him pay him the yogurt, then it looks like the dude got off. It looks like he told you he wasn't gonna pay it. See what I'm saying? So he looks off. But then the other guy who did an even swap, even trade, and just happened to get the better end of the stick between the two items that were, you know, shared, he's gonna look soft if he does give the dude back a yogurt. You know what I'm saying? So after they fought a couple times and shit like that, you know, that everything was pushed to the side. Everybody was like separated, you know, and you were thinking that it was gonna be a dead situation. And what it was is some random person who worked in the kitchen told that inmate, I'm gonna give you a yogurt. You know what I'm saying? And he was gonna give it to that guy to have that guy pay him with that yogurt, like give it to him. But that dude was like, nah, hell no, because it still makes me look soft, because in his mind he feels like I gave him that yogurt. So a couple gang members got together and kind of made like an announcement in the dorm to bring the situation to light, and basically said, it's a dead situation, y'all both fought, it is what it is, bruh ain't giving you no yogurt, but you are gonna get a yogurt back. You see? So it's kind of like, even though it ain't from him, you see, but it still gave that dude the shit end of the stick because he didn't give him that yogurt. You feel me? But I will be real. I will tell you this though. My opinion is the guy who wanted the yogurt back was wrong in the whole first place. You know what I'm saying? You do a trade with somebody, that is now your item. And what you gave them is now their item. You get what I'm saying? If he gets away with your shit, but you get caught with yours, at the end of the day, that's your fault. You feel me? That is not that man's fault because you got caught. It wouldn't matter if he knew the guards weren't going to let you bring it back to the dorm. That's still your job and your duty. So I felt like he didn't deserve a yogurt, you know? And on this day, I was so aggravated from hearing about it, him still talking about it, him still pushing the issue over the yogurt, to where I almost faded him. I almost wanted to fight him over this shit, you feel me? I started saying, man, enough about the yogurt shit. Who cares, bro? Who cares, bro? And I said, dog, you keep causing attention in the dorm, bro. I'm about to tighten you up myself. You know, I got hot. And then he just looked at me and he was like, oh, really? And I said, yeah, bro, I'm about to grid you myself, bro. Like what, the whole dorm gonna have to line you up one after another, bro? Fuck that yogurt, bro. You know, it is what it is, bro. Because at the end of the day, he was wrong in my eyes. It'd be different if he was right. Then okay, you know, talk your shit. Stand up for yourself. But here you're wrong. You know, you're trying to push an issue that a man owes you something because you got caught with what y'all did. That shit don't work like that. Think about it. That's like when people are on the streets and they go buy weed and drugs and shit from people. Dude sells it to you. Now you get arrested with it, or you smoked it, or you lost it. Now the weed man owes you more stuff, or the weed man's held accountable because you got caught with it. How does that make sense? Yes, it doesn't. You know, that's why I felt like he was wrong in the first place. He didn't deserve no yogurt at all. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like someone else intervening and giving him an extra Chobani yogurt, I felt like that was overdoing anyways. You know, he should not have got a yogurt. You know, that shit should have been, a bunch of people should have just jumped on his ass and beat his ass for causing attention in the dorm, because that's all he did. And at the end of the day, he caused suspicion to the guards, where the guards watch heavier. When the guards watch heavier, they notice smoke. You know, the next thing you know, they're shaking the dorm down. They're finding like 21 phones, 18 knives, you know, pounds of fucking Tunchi, which is K2. They're finding hundreds of pills like Xanax, Percocets. You know, they're finding steroids. They're finding cartons and cartons and cartons of cigarettes or loose tobacco. You know, there's so much things that are getting knocked off from this dude causing a scene when they had an even swap. You see, it'd be different if it wasn't an even swap. Then it's like, you can't blame him for causing a scene. But he caused the scene just because he got caught with the yogurt and couldn't get back to the dorm with it. You know, so me, I felt like him not getting a yogurt is what it is, you know. And regardless of who won the fight or how it ended. I feel like they gave him a little, extra by some random person giving him a yogurt, And I will say this, when all the gangs got involved, this is the funny part. When all the gangs got involved and died all down and shit like that, they made them two boys, because they weren't gangbangers, but they made them boys sit over there in the same cut they fought in a few days ago. They made them boys sit over there together and both eat a yogurt and talk. And I was laughing my ass off. You feel me? I was like, that right there would make me feel little. Make me feel like another grown-ass man or grown men made me sit over here like I'm in detention right now and eat a yogurt. The shit we fought over, you feel me? But they did that because that's what caused the attention in the dorm. So it's like, since it was all over a yogurt, both of y'all are gonna sit over there and y'all are gonna have like a meeting. It's kind of like when you're kids and y'all get into it with each other and your parents want y'all to shake hands or give each other a hug. It's kind of like you don't want to do it, but you gotta do it. That's what they were doing. It was like they were little broed by all the gang members in the dorm. You see what I'm saying? And they went over there and they sat there and they were eating them shit together. And I was rolling. I was laughing. I'm sitting over there on the bunk. The whole dorm knew of me as like clowning and shit like that. But they know when I get serious, shit's for real. But I'll be over there clowning. So I was like, oh shit, y'all boys. Y'all got a yogurt over there for me? I would say little things and they'd be like, man. I'd be like, I see y'all over there on your little picnic. Y'all look like y'all over there having a picnic and shit. Like I would say stuff like that. I would roast them for the most part. But the whole moral of the story is to show people getting fights inside of prison over the littlest things, Chobani yogurts. You find these shits in the store, they ain't nothing but a couple cents, maybe $1. You know what I'm saying? Which, it's more of the principle when you're locked up. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, the reason them boys fought, was there really a principle behind it? Or was it just they made a principle? You get what I'm saying? The dude who got caught with the yogurt made it and brought it amongst himself to amp himself up to where he felt like he had to fight over a yogurt because he felt tried by the guards and wanted to take it out on the inmate he did a trade with. Then the other inmate felt, obligated to fight because of the way the dude was coming at him like, you owe me a yogurt, when he knows, hell nah, we did an even trade. You see? So it's kind of like the principles ain't even over what really caused it. You see? It's more like the one dude who gave him the yogurt is fighting because dude's saying, you're gonna give me a yogurt. So it's like, now his principle and his whole thing is you're gonna respect me. Ain't no way in hell you're trying me like this. But it's like, now he's fighting because dude said, you're gonna give me a yogurt. You owe me a yogurt. You see? And then the other dude's fighting because that dude said, I ain't giving you no yogurt. F you and that yogurt. You see what I'm saying? So it's like they made it to where they both had a reason to fight. But when you go back to the whole reason that caused it, one of them was wrong, point blank. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. But these are the type of things that you got to expect when you find yourself locked up. You got to make sure you pay attention and you make sure at the end of the day, you know what you're getting yourself into. Because it's easy, 1, 2, 3, as you're talking to someone like this, it can escalate and turn into something else. It's kind of like when you're arguing with a female, You might be arguing with a female about something, and that's what causes the argument. But in the heat of the argument, y'all go back and forth, exchange words, and then now y'all arguing about some other shit. Y'all arguing about what was said or something else. And then before you know it, you're not even arguing about what started the argument. You see? That's basically what happened in this situation, And it was all over Chobani yogurt. That's why I want to come on here and talk to it with y'all, because I'm telling y'all see the funniest shit, the most serious shit do, But it's like, it just blew my mind. Me personally, if I was the dude that traded you the yogurt and you came at me like that, I'd want to bump too. Because I'm going to be like, bro, ain't no way in hell. You must have fell and bumped and hit your head to think I owe you a yogurt. How's that make sense? We did a trade. Boom, boom. Your ass got caught. Boom. It ain't like we got caught doing the trade. It was like literally, bro, like we stayed in the chow hall and I finished eating whatever it is I traded you for. You know what I'm saying? And you come back to the dorm with this bullshit, I would take it as if you think I'm soft, you think I'm sweet. So now you're approaching me like this. You're bringing this shit to my attention because you want to see how I'm going to react. You want to see if I'm soft or if I'm, vulnerable. So you come at me like this when it's plain as day that you're wrong and you come at me like this, I'm going to feel like you're 100% intentionally insulting me. You see what I'm saying? To see what I'll do about it. That's why I feel like that dude who traded him the yogurt wasn't wrong, when it came down to them fighting and everything. He was just making it to where he was right because he stood up for himself. If you got somebody that comes up to you and says you owe them something when you don't, You gotta stand up for yourself. What, are you gonna pay him and look soft, look weak? No, you can't. So he did what he was supposed to do. He gave him something for what he got. Boom. And then when dude came and was like, nah, you finna give me this. If you ain't that, I ain't giving you that shit. No, he did right. He was in right in my eyes the whole time. You know what I'm saying? The other guy was wrong, you know, and through it all, it just caused attention, brought the guards in. You know, it was just some bullshit inside of the dorm. You know, if y'all have ever seen anything like this when y'all were locked up, drop it in the comment section. If y'all seen people fight over the stupidest shit, put it in there, man. I've seen people fight over equals. Okay, when I say equals, I'm talking about the little sweetener packs. And in prison, they're 1 cent a piece. When you buy them, it's like 10 cents for 10 of them. So like, and they come wrapped in a little rubber band. There's a pack of 10. So an equal, 1 cent. And boys in there fighting over that shit. You get what I'm saying? But it don't even be over that. It be over what they thought was right was wrong. But they still got in the paint. And then the other dude's got to get in the paint to defend himself. You see? So it's like the stupidest shit ever. I told y'all before, I got in a fight before one time. Because a dude asked me, he came up to me and he was like, oh, you got a beef soup? And he wanted to trade me a different soup for like a beef soup. And I looked over and I said, oh, no, I ain't got one. And he kept it pushing. Next thing you know, later he sees me on my locker making a beef soup. So he come over there talking all greasy and shit, you know, like, oh, the lying ass cracker and this and this and this and that. Went straight to the cracker word, when in all reality, someone had just paid me for a sack of tunchi, gave me $3 and gave me 6 soups, which soups they usually do is like $1.50. So they gave me 6 soups for the sack of, you feel me? So it's like one of them happened to be beef. It ain't my job to think, oh, I can't accept beef right now because I told this inmate I didn't have no beef soups to swap him for his chicken one. Or it ain't even in my mind to think, oh, now that I got beef ones, let me go run this guy down from 3 hours ago and trade him. No, that ain't what I look like, bro. I don't work for him. You know what I'm saying? It ain't my intention to remember this shit, you know? So he came at me all greasy and aggressive and we fought all over that, you see? And it was like I'm fighting because the way he came at me, you know? He's fighting because he feels like I tried him and lied to him saying I didn't have a beef soup to trade him. Which, if you think about it, what if I did have a beef soup and didn't want to trade you for chicken? I'm not entitled. I don't have to. You get what I'm saying? Even though I didn't. But in his mind, he was like, oh, that cracker had a, he tried me, bro. I did this and that. And that ain't even what it was, you see? Instead, they just like to turn it into something and it ain't. You feel me? He could have asked me. You know what I'm saying? I seen people fight because they asked someone, hey, bro, you got an equal I can get? And you know, you think 1 cent, that ain't nothing. Here you go. And bro was like, nah, I ain't got no equals. Literally, I seen him making coffee, putting equals in it. Bro started rapping, ran up on him, swung on him. Then they started fighting and all this shit. Kind of find out he borrowed those equals from someone to put in his coffee. So he really didn't have equals either. See what I'm saying? It's like people don't know, they just jump the gun. They think what they want and they just go with it. And they be wrong 99% of the time. A lot of the fights up the road, them shits are uncalled for and there's no reason for it. Y'all are fighting for shit that was said or done after the fact, but the original reason isn't even something to stand on. Feel me? That's what it is. That's how it goes. Now, if you've been locked up and you've had someone come at you sideways and try to say you owed them something when you didn't, what'd you do? Did you defend yourself? Would you defend yourself? If you were that guy that got caught with the Chobani, would you blame the other dude? I don't think I would. I'd know off rip, like, damn, I played. Charge your shit to the game. Feel me? It is what it is. I know I got caught with my yogurt. It is not on the dude who I just traded for. In my mind, I'd be like, damn, I just lost whatever I traded, bro. You feel me? I'm not even thinking about bro no more once I got the yogurt. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I would never even think to come at him like that. But if you were in there and you found yourself in that situation and you traded somebody something and then they got caught with it and then they came there to tell you you still owed them because they got caught, how would you react about that? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know what you would do. Let me know if you've seen anybody get put down on like that. Would you just turn your head and say, okay, no problem. Here you go. Here's your extra yogurt. Would you do that? Because a lot of people really would. A lot of people would do what they have to do to avoid the problems. You know, they'll give them the yogurt. You know, and I feel like certain times you can't. Certain times you have to go through it with the drama just because it's like painting a picture. You know, you give that shit to that dude when you know you don't owe that dude that. It's painting a picture about you that other people are going to judge you about. You feel me? Now you stand on business and you tell them, look, it is what it is. You ain't getting shit. F you in that yogurt, bro. You know, and the F you in that yogurt the dude said, I know why he said that, because he felt so tried that the dude was coming at him saying he owed him a yogurt now. See? So I would have felt tried too and been like, F you in that yogurt too. You feel me? But A lot of people would turn their heads and pay that shit up. Me, I'm not. If you would or you want it, put it in the comment section. That's what that's there for. You feel me? I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Like I always say, y'all make sure you keep them rats, squares, clowns, chomos, pedos, gunners, wannabe island boys, and clout chasers out your circle. And until next time, this the one and only. I am my team, Frog.
I'm a criminal, I'm a cool nigga, but I got a limit though.
I'm a cool nigga, but I got a limit though, cause I'm a criminal, yeah, I'm a criminal.